Right, welcome everybody. This is the Experience is Key podcast. This is all about hospitality and business. We have students Leah and Chelsea.
Hi.
And they're going to be picking the brains of Lee Murray, who is a legendary businessman in Leavenmouth in Fife. You can't sit down in anywhere without this man owning it. So, Leah and Chelsea, if you want to kick off and start with the questions, please.
So, Lee, when did you get started in the hospitality industry?
I started in 1999, long time ago now, and a pub called the Golf Tavern, which we changed the name to McPhail's. It was named after my granddad. It was a pub that I went to with him when I was a kid, and it was a lifelong dream. I wanted to be a football player, and then hopefully own a pub, but football didn't manage. I didn't manage to be a football player, but managed to own a pub. So that was my dream, and that's luckily I made it a reality.
So what's been your most rewarding experience in working in hospitality?
I think pulling ideas together, coming up with a vision, and then trying to pull that together. I suppose that's the best thing. Taking something from like a blank canvas and then creating something, and then making it, and then seeing people come in and enjoy it. So that, I think that's probably a bit
rewarding. Yeah.
So how long roughly does it take you to normally create something from a blank canvas?
That depends. It depends on how long you've got. It depends on how much money you've got, because the money tends to determine the time. So you need, once you start these projects, you need to get them open as soon as you can, because it's draining money out of the business or out of the pot. So you've got to try and get it up and running as quick as possible, but obviously without kind of killing the vision that you're trying to create by just putting it together and saying, well, that'll do. So you've got to kind of sometimes stand by what you're trying to achieve and say, no, we need to do this right so that it's going to be right in the end. So timing it's hard to determine that. It really depends how bad it is, how decent it is when you take it over. We've turned a pub round in 3 or 4 days, and other places, and the nightclub took me over probably best bet 2 years, but a year like hard graft to get
it. And leaving.
Yeah. So timing, mostly determined on financials.
So you specialise in taking over long closed buildings, so as Truth Nightclub, and rebuilding them from scratch. Do you get a buzz from watching your vision unfold?
That 100%. That's the buzz.
The idea.
Getting the idea, having the idea. I think trying to put the money together, trying to put the deal together, trying to visualise what you're wanting to do with the place, with the venue, and then getting it open, and then again, as I say, having people coming in and going, wow, this is cool, or I didn't realise this was here, or for the leaving venues are very much this should be in Edinburgh, or or a big city or something, which is something that I always try to achieve, and like make it feel like it should belong in Edinburgh, or should belong in Glasgow, or stuff like that. So that's what I always kind of try to achieve.
Yeah, it's what you want from your job, to get a buzz from it and enjoy it and really put your all into what you do. Absolutely.
I mean, it's it is at times it's incredibly pressurised, especially if you've got finances driving it, which is most of the time. And then you put a date on, if you're building something from scratch, you put a date on it. It has to be ready for that date. And once you commit to that date, then the real pressure hits, because you've got to get it open, and because you're selling tickets, or you're buying stock, or you're employing staff. So everything's costing. Mm-hmm. So it's a real pressure situation. You've just got to get it up and running. Mm-hmm. So the pressure's on, and the heat is on.
So if anybody was interested in getting into this industry, what skills do you believe are the most beneficial to have to succeed?
Tenacity. You've got to. You can never give up. You've got to keep on driving to what you believe and what you want to do. So I always kind of say tenacity and patience, because although can you maybe think it doesn't quite go together, mm-hmm. it does, because you've got to what's my dream, what's my vision here, what's my goal, mm-hmm. what am I trying to achieve, and sometimes it just takes time. So you've got to have patience as well as the tenacity to keep on going when the chips are down, or when you get hit by a problem, which is every day. Something else, there's an issue every day with whether it's staff, whether it's builders, whether it's suppliers, whether it's money. There's always something mm-hmm. there round the corner to ready to kind of to stop you in your tracks. Yeah. But so you've got to have that tenacity to keep on going. Yeah. And say no, that's not going to knock me down. I'm going to get back up and. Mm-hmm.
So what challenges did you face when you first entered the industry?
There's been constant challenges. Mm-hmm. We had in 1999, when I took over and opened McPhail's, the pub was run down. It was, there was literally, I think the first Saturday night there was 3 customers. So I'm thinking, oh my God, what have we done here? Yeah. And to like about 6 weeks or 8 weeks later, kind of get in on a Saturday night, and we've had to put doorman on, and people saying, you can't get in, there's 2 in, 2 out, and that kind of thing. So, so in that first period was good, but then the trade is, the industry is unimaginable, literally since the last 25 years now, 26 years this year. It's totally different. So the smoking ban was probably the first hurdle that I hit, 2006-ish kind of time. That was a huge impact in the trade. Mm-hmm. And then 2 or 3 years later, banking crash, 2008, 2009 was again absolutely horrific. That was such an impact on the trade, and effectively we had a recession, like a massive recession at the back of that, which again affected everything. And then it took, I think, the trade, the hospitality trade in particular, all trades, a lot, to be fair, they all took a lot of time to recover up on the back of that. Mm-hmm. And I think we were just starting to maybe get to some kind of normality, 2018, 2019, and then boom, COVID come in and changed the world, obviously, as we all know. And that's had just the biggest impact of the trade, and probably it's going to take a long time for it to recover. I don't think it'll ever recover and get back to where it was previously. Everybody kind of thinks different and goes out different and stuff like that now. Yeah. So COVID's been a big difference. So in the last 25, 26 years, for me, it's been a roller coaster. Yeah. It has been a roller coaster.
Keeping it exciting.
Aye, you could say that.
So what current trends do you see shaping the hospitality industry in the future?
A big one for me, I think, is non-alcoholic drinks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You guys might know that, possibly know that better than me, in regards to the younger generation. I don't think bars and clubs and stuff like that are seeing younger generation coming out as much as I did, or we did when we were
Yeah.
You know, my generation was younger. You know, first, whenever you were 18, you were out
Yeah.
Yeah.
4 or 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
Now you don't see that. I think we're seeing things like, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but a trend kind of called Zebraing, where people are having an alcoholic drink, then a non-alcoholic drink, and then an alcoholic drink. That's kind of coming down south. I think it's becoming a thing here as well. So,
Yeah.
so I think definitely non-alcoholic side of the business is going to explode in the near future. Venues, larger venues, trying to make themselves smaller so that they're more impactful. I think that's going to be a trend. I could see that happening, and cost controlling. Probably venues trying to or pubs, hotels, every bit of the hospitality industry trying to control their costs.
Yeah.
That's going to be a big thing as well, and that might have an impact across the board. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen in the next few years.
Yeah. How has the rise of the platforms like Airbnb changed the landscape for traditional hotels and resorts?
I can only really say from my perspective how it's affecting me at the Laurel Bank, and it's not really affected us that much because what you tend to find is Airbnb are becoming part of the platforms that we use to get people in. We call them channel managers. So basically Airbnb are one of the channels that we'll use now. So booking.com, as you have seen when you go and try to book a holiday, or booking.com and hotels.com and all these kind of guys. Well, Airbnb had become one of them. So people could book their hotel through Airbnb now. So so it's not had a negative impact. I don't think it's probably had a positive impact. So we've finally got a big player in the market, has become a channel, to a funnel, I suppose, to bring people into the hotel to stay. So
working with them more than working against them.
Yeah, certainly not working against them. And I think we tend to find it. I mean, I can only kind of talk from our Kinch point of view, and there's quite a few people have turned their flats into Airbnb places, and we get a lot of business from them because people are obviously staying in the town and they're looking for somewhere to eat, looking for somewhere to go, going for a beer, going for breakfast, lunch, dinner, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
So we get a bit of impact off that. So Airbnb, in my opinion, has been positive.
Yeah. What do you believe is the key to delivering expectational customer service and hospitality?
Communication.
Yeah, big one.
That is the number one thing for me, that I try and get through to my staff every day, all the time. If I get up till I go to my bed, my watchword to the staff is communication. Talk to each other, talk to the staff, talk to the customer, talk to suppliers, talk to each other, each department, whether it be front of house, kitchen, housekeeping, maintenance, whatever. You need to talk to each other, you need to communicate. So, and that kind of falls then into teamwork. So if you communicate well, your team will work better.
Yeah, 100%.
And then I suppose from that, what's the vision, and then what's the drive behind that? How what's your drive behind that to create that vision? So, but communication is the number one thing for me.
Yeah.
How do you handle difficult or dissatisfied guests while maintaining a positive reputation for your business? I know it can be a difficult one.
Well, that is very difficult. It's no easy. When somebody complains or gives you a bad review, it could hurt. It hurts.
Yeah.
I still take it personally. I hate somebody I look at it two ways. I hate getting a review. I hate somebody saying something negative about us or the team or any of my team, or obviously the venue itself or the unit itself. But when it does come in, I'm like, right, how could we make sure that doesn't happen again?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very much a, right, okay, that hurts, especially if it's true.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's no true. Sometimes it's just rubbish.
Yeah.
And people, or it's exaggerated
Yeah.
by a lot. And you tend to find that if it's added, if it's if it's somebody's told somebody else, then it's twice as bad. So you've got to kind of try and take that into consideration.
Mm-hmm.
I always think if somebody says something, it's not quite as bad as what it is to start with. So just I'm kind of try and tell myself, like, calm down, not be.
Yeah.
It's not quite as bad as it looks.
Yeah.
Until you get gets into the nuts and bolts of the review or the criticism. There's also two sides of the story. So the customer story and then what actually has happened with
Yeah.
what the staff perception of what's happened. But I take them personally. I want to fix that as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And so, from my point of view, it's very much of if we get a criticism or a bad review, I try and make sure that if that customer is, but it doesn't really matter if the customer's a regular customer or not. But if there's been a customer, that tends to tell me that they've come in regular. So regular customers are, and this doesn't sound right to somebody that doesn't know the industry that well, but regular customers are cheaper to keep than try to get a new one. So you want to, if you come to me on a regular basis for something to eat, then I want to keep you. So I'm going to try and make you happy.
Yeah.
If I've never seen you before, then I'm trying to buy you as a customer. So it costs me more to get you in the first time for marketing or advertising, whatever, than it is to keep the customer. So if somebody's criticising you and they've come before, I try and make that a positive and say, right, okay, they're not happy. Let's find out what's happened. Let's try and fix it. Let's make sure it doesn't happen again. So let's communicate to the team. Listen, if this happens, this is how we need to deal with it.
Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't happen again. But I think the biggest thing is when you've seen a bad review, you're like, oh.
Yeah.
Hurts
your feelings a wee bit.
Oh, right, it's personal.
Yeah.
It's personal because everything you put into that business is personal. It's your life. So.
What are some common mistakes the business make when it comes to guest relations?
Bad communication.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Most of the time, and 99% of the time, is we've not communicated well. People will come and say, you've just, we've booked a room, it was noisy, we weren't happy. So, well, actually, we have a waiver that says, look, there might be a party on here and it might be loud. But if my reception team have no explained that to the customer and said to them, look, there's a party on the night, it might get loud till about 12 o'clock, so can please take that into consideration.
Yeah.
If they've not took that across to the customer right, then the customer's got a right to say, why you never told me?
Yeah.
Or I didn't realise. Or
Yeah.
I wasn't very happy with that. So it's down to communication. Everybody's got to communicate all the time. So I'm kind of constantly going on. I think, how are we no brilliant communicators? I'm constantly telling you. Bad communication between the teams, between the front of house, between reception, between the kitchen, obviously, the whole gang, the whole team there, they have to be told and kept in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah.
We've created an information wall, an information tunnel, in effect, the bit that comes between front of house and the kitchen, and everything that we need to know, everything that all the staff need to know, kitchen and front of house, is on that tunnel. So it's kind of basically two walls.
Yeah.
But we've created an information wall. And I'm like, well, it's on the wall. Why have you not seen it?
Is it working for you?
It does work. It's worked better than, it's the best solution so far that we've come up with to help the communication between the teams. Because there's always you guys are training to be chefs.
Yeah.
So there's always a problem. Not a problem. It's hard to. There's always something that there's always a clash between front of house and kitchen, and if you can minimise that clash as much as possible, then everything will go a lot smoother than, because if you've got a head chef running the kitchen that's not getting on with the person that's running front of house, then you've got a massive problem in your hands, and it can make everybody's life in misery. And I've been there many times.
You do find a separation between the front of house and back of house, which stops the communication a lot.
And that's
that in the industry.
and that's where it's imperative that the communication is right. So the guy or the person, the woman, the man that is running that pass or running the kitchen needs to have a good relationship with the person that's running front of house, and so that it's not a negative experience, it's a positive experience, and the guys are communicating well to each other, back and forward. Like, table one's ready to go, mains are away, waiting for desserts, blah 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 blah, whatever it may be. That their communication's constant, so it's important.
So do you have a strict leadership style when it comes to managing the teams, or are you more kind of relaxed when it comes to it?
I think if you ask my team, that would be. If you ask the guys, that would be the answer would probably be he's mental. But no, I think I'm fair, but I'm strict on communication. Like, guys, come on, we need to be talking to each other. I try to do what I say I'll do. So if I say we're going to do this, we will do it. The question was, what's my leadership style?
Leadership style. Are you more strict? Well,
hands-on.
Hands-on.
Probably is the best description. I try and be as much hands-off as I can, but I try not to. I used to be terrible for micromanaging. I didn't do that. I try not to do that anymore. But there is times when it gets to, you've just got to. You've got to get your hand, because the bottom line is that, in the way I see it, is my customers are getting impacted if our team's not doing their job. So, and you've sometimes got to be pretty selfish and say, listen, guys, it's my name that's bringing people in here. So you can't. We can't have a negative impact there, so that the customer walks away and says, Lee Murray's place is a disaster, because that happens. So, and a lot of times the staff will come in and they'll work a wee while and they'll go, which is fine. Everybody. The unfortunate bit about hospitality, it's transient. People come and they work for a while and then they move. Which is something that I don't like, but it happens. And it's the industry's the industry's like that. We try and keep your team together as much as possible, and when they're transient like that, when the team comes and goes, and it's people, it's maybe students using it as money to get through college or get through uni. It's kids coming through, they want to do it when they're at school, and it's a Saturday job or whatever. Or there's people, they're just using it as a Saturday night job to get some extra dosh. All these kind of different things. And then there's people who it's their job, it's their career. So you've got all that mix all the time going on, which is a kind of hotbed that you've got to deal with on a day-to-day basis. So sometimes you've got to micromanage it, and other times you can say, right, it's okay, everything's cool. I'm just going to back in the office, out the road. Let them get on with it. So it's difficult to say, but I'm hands-on. I'm better being hands-on. I could feel my impact if I'm there all the time. If I'm not there all the time, I feel like it's sometimes from my point of view, it feels like it's getting away from you a wee bit. Like, boy, what's going on? Why is it not quite as busy as it should be? Or so it's when you put so much into places, they become they become a massive
It's your
part of your
life,
life.
yeah.
And for staff, a lot of the time it's not their life; it's a job. And
Yeah.
and I've got to admit, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, it's just a job for them.
Yeah.
I get that, but you want people that care,
Yeah.
and that's the key bit. Is when you're employing people, is that you're employing them they've got a good attitude and they actually care.
Care about what they're doing, yeah.
They actually care, and they've got that about them, and that's key for me. Is I would rather have somebody that's not got any skills but has got a good attitude,
Yeah.
and we could train them.
Yeah.
You could be part of the
100%,
team.
yeah.
We'll show you what to do. That's a great thing about hospitality is that it could be you could train it quite. You can a lot of the jobs you could train quickly.
Yeah.
Kitchen a wee bit longer. But front of house stuff, most of the time you could learn that, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
The great thing about it, I think, is that it could be a phenomenal career for people. You could come in as a KP, as a kitchen porter, and you could be a head chef within 5-10 years,
Yeah.
and you could be making good money. You come in as a glass collector, and you could be a general manager in 10 years,
Yeah.
and you could be making really good money, and you could work all over the world. And the great thing about the great thing about the hospitality industry is you could get a job anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world. There's not a lot of industries could give you that. If you guys end up being chefs, you could literally work anywhere.
Yeah.
And how much industries could give you that? I think there's an awful lot in the world that could do that. That language and travel doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could go to the other side of the world and go into a kitchen, and if you could cook, you've got a job.
Yeah.
And so I think that's brilliant. And I think for me that should be something that everybody, people in the trade, should be shouting about.
Yeah.
To make people, this is a great industry, and it's a great industry to be in. It's a great industry to learn, and not just learn about the trade, as in how to pour drinks or how to make food. Actually learn about camaraderie, teamwork, passion, communication. There's just loads. So it's a great industry.
What was one of the most successful projects you've worked on?
What did I put for that? Probably Truth was really amazing to have worked on. I've worked on loads of projects and different things over the years. I think I've had 17 or 18 places
Oh, wow.
altogether. I did. We did the British Open at a place in St Andrews, which was quite incredible. I had Tiger Woods in, served him lunch.
Wow.
He had a recording in the hotel. It was sponsored by Nike for the week, which was quite incredible. I run East Fife Football Club for a wee while, and in the time I was there, Rangers was in the same league, so that was quite incredible.
Yeah.
The stadium with a record crowd in the stadium. First time at East Fife had ever been live on TV in a league game. So I put all that together with their team, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Truth, I took it over as a derelict snooker club.
Yeah.
And turned it into a 500 people venue in the centre of Leven. And my vision for that was that I could bring the best talent there is in the UK and bring it to my hometown.
Yeah.
So we had Radio 1 DJs.
Yeah.
We had The View. We had sold out concerts with The View in. We my God, boys will annoy me, but I'm not. We had 2 or 3 other bands that were amazing. When I left and when I leased it out again, the guys didn't really take that on, but
Yeah.
but I created a multi-purpose venue,
Yeah.
and that was great to have people in your hometown saying they're going to a concert and it's in Leaving. It was just, for me, was
Yeah.
brilliant, and that was a great buzz that I got out of creating it, and when you're putting that all together and you're trying to visualise what you can do with a venue.
Mhm.
I mean, if you walked in the front door when we first took it on, it was falling apart.
Yeah.
Holes in the ground and dry rot and all that kind of stuff. It cost a lot of money to just rebuild the foundations. We
Yeah.
literally rebuilt it. But then to have it on a Thursday night, rammed with 600 people to see the view,
Yeah.
and tickets getting sold outside, for more money than
Yeah.
they would buy. It's just like, wow, this is incredible. This is
Yeah.
what
What you've been dreaming of.
what I was dreaming about when we tried to put it together, or when
Yeah.
I put it together. So it's amazing.
So, what would you say are the biggest mistakes that companies make when they first start growing their business?
You mean the mistakes I made?
Yeah, what are some mistakes you made when you first started growing your business?
Well, loads, and I think it's important to know that it's important to learn by your mistakes, and realise that making mistakes isn't a problem. It's something you're going to do, and you've got to learn by it, and you've got to use it as something to help you get better.
Yeah.
And eventually, if you keep making mistakes, you'll eventually get there. But the problem, the biggest thing I had, so I grew a business for one pub and maybe 10 staff to 14 places, 150 staff, and turning over almost £5 million a year. But my biggest problem was I didn't build a proper infrastructure behind it.
Yeah.
That was sustainable, that could last, and that was my biggest issue. I didn't realise that until it was too late.
Mm-hmm.
That you're kind of running by your seat of your pants a lot of the time. And as you grow, and you didn't mean a lot of the time you didn't go in with a plan. You're like, I'm going to have all this.
Yeah.
It hits you. The opportunities come along. You take them and you try it. And you're like, right, okay, I could try that. I could do that.
Yeah.
And I think also when I'm thinking about that, one of the big things is you've got to remember that it's not you every time as you grow the business.
Yeah.
It's not you behind the bar. It's not you in the kitchen. It's not you serving the food. You've got to think about somebody else doing it.
Yeah.
And the impact that has on your ability to make money.
Yeah.
So you can visualise these things with you in mind, being the barman or the chef or the front of the house person, the waiter. But it's not like that, because you've got to employ people to do it then.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got to stand behind that and look at it, and because once you get to a stage of you've got maybe 2 or 3 running, you're literally never getting behind the bar.
Mm-hmm.
You're never getting front of the house. You're never getting in the kitchen, because you've got to manage the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it becomes really difficult. So to manage the whole thing, you've got to build an infrastructure.
Yeah.
And I kind of didn't really do that right.
Mm-hmm.
If I was doing it all again, which I wouldn't, but if I was doing it all again, infrastructure would be the key thing that I would build behind the scenes to make sure that we've built a foundation that the house could be built on.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, is that the kind of advice you would give to someone if they were wanting to enter this kind of career and manage?
Yeah,
hospitality
absolutely.
venues?
Absolutely. I think I give that advice out regularly when I'm talking to people that I know. If they're trying to grow something, it doesn't matter if it's hospitality. It could be any business.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to get the infrastructure right, and in effect, you've got to get the foundation right. And if if you're building a house, you've got to
Yeah.
get a proper foundation. My foundation was okay, but it just wasn't solid enough to
Yeah.
grow, to help me grow at the rate I was growing it. I was growing too quick, and then the foundations were getting weaker and weaker because I was built, and it's like
Yeah.
building a skyscraper
Yeah.
on a foundation of a 2-story house.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? If that kind of makes sense, and that's what I kind of done, and I probably gambled too much on. I thought I could make that work,
Yeah.
and actually, what I didn't realise is it wasn't me. It was me behind the scenes, but it wasn't me it wasn't me front. You know, it was me front of the house,
Yeah.
right in front of people as they're coming in the door, and that I think had a big impact on how we performed.
Mm-hmm.
So, and chefing questions. What makes you want to be a chef? Can I ask a couple of questions?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's made you want to be come into the hospitality industry and be a chef?
Just ever since I was younger, I could never find anything that I liked or enjoyed, and then I started doing a lot in high school, and then didn't really enjoy high school with any other subjects, just the one. So I started to realise as I grew older that you needed a lot of grades and things for, like, I wanted to be a vet when I grew up, but that is not something I want to do now.
It's tougher.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I didn't realise that at such a young age.
No,
So
no, of course.
then I realised it was a course at Fife College. When I left high school, the first thing I did was went to college, and ever since then, I love it.
Right, brilliant.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Would you specialise in something in the kitchen, or?
I'm not too sure
Overall,
yet. I'm
right.
going to try and figure all that out in my last year at college this year, do my HNC, and then after that, I'll figure it all out.
And yourself?
Yeah, I just always grew up loving cooking and everything like that. And in school, I was never really good at writing subjects. It was more, I'm kind of better at practical
Were you
subjects,
hands-on?
doing
Hands-on,
stuff,
yeah.
hands-on. And then I got a job as a KP when I was 14, working in the kitchen, just loved it. And then one of our chefs left. So my boss, who was a family friend, gave me a chance and kind of started teaching me
Aye, brilliant.
how to do everything. And
I always kind of tend to find the best chefs are people that have been KPs, that
Well,
have
that's-
come through the ranks and learned all the jobs.
it's the best way to learn because you kind of learn how everybody feels in the kitchen, how everybody works, rather than just starting to, kind of higher up.
It can be so satisfying
Yeah,
putting food out, and then the feedback coming back to by the way, people are really happy.
Yeah.
Especially like if it's a Saturday service and it's mental.
yeah,
The buzz off that is. I still get that on a Saturday. I mean, a lot of the time, right through Christmas, I was expediting literally the whole Christmas period,
Yeah.
and the buzz is incredible.
Yeah.
The buzz is absolutely incredible with that, like absolutely packed, pushing food out, organising the chefs, organising the front of house team. When we're really busy in the hotel, that information wall that I was telling you about is basically just next to the pass. So.
Yeah.
So that's the key bit in the whole building when it's mobbed.
Yeah.
That you've got to make that work, and that's got to be the if you think it for football terms, but it's the centre of the park, and it's the person it's the quarterback, I suppose, that's kind of pushing everybody in the right direction, so everybody's talking to each other, and it's coming out and it's doing well. So that I think working in the kitchen and getting that feeling of I love this. This is a great buzz.
Yeah.
You could feed off that for a long time
Yeah.
because it's hard. It's hard work. It is the hardest thing, I think, in our trade to be a successful chef, and to be level-headed and to try and work your way through that, because it's tough. It is a tough environment, especially a proper busy place. You could have places that are a wee bit quieter, and it's maybe a cafe or whatever. That's I'm not nothing against cafes, because I've had cafe and they could be just as busy, but proper restaurant inside a hotel environment that's got loads of things going on is it could be incredible.
Yeah.
When it's busy, it's nuts.
yeah.
It's
I
good.
talk to a lot of people outside of the industry, and they go, "I don't know how you deal with the stress of like a busy Saturday night and working for that long." And trying to explain to them the buzz, they don't quite get
So
it.
you're doing it practically as well as learning. So you're
Yes.
actually doing chefing.
I was obviously working, and when I finished school, my old boss was like, "You should go to college to learn kind of things that we can't really teach you here because we don't have the funds,
you
the
don't have
time, the
or-
money." So I started going to college. I'm in my third year, HNC as well, and I'm so glad I went.
Yeah, it's good to get that foundation.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the guys, unfortunately, in chefing, a lot of the guys don't learn what you guys are learning. So they just learn on the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They go for a KP and they become a commie and then blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, the thing. So, but I think you'll know then the difference between working in learning in the college environment and actually the real thing.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a difference.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that I find when chefs come to me, or people that have been at college come to me and they're like, "Oh my God, I didn't realise it was like this."
Yeah.
It's real.
There's a lot more
This is
patience within the college
Of course.
situation compared to work situations. You're allowed to kind of have mistakes at
Yeah,
college,
yeah.
whereas I've found a lot of time working with some of the chefs that I have, they are not as understanding.
Yeah.
They get quite annoyed and quite angry if you slip up.
Mistakes are money.
Yeah, mistake.
In
Yeah,
the real world, mistakes are money, and but that's why you're here to try and learn and get it. You can't no make mistakes. Boys make mistakes every single day.
absolutely.
But it's how little, so make sure it doesn't impact the business too much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, cool. Well, that was excellent. That was a really, really good podcast there. Thanks very much for everybody that's turned up. Thanks to Lee, thanks to Leah, thanks to Chelsea. Much appreciated. Yeah, so that's the end of the podcast. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
you.